Hello, and thank you for joining us for our BNI San Diego podcast. I'm really excited because the person next to me is a very, very special guest. This is my daughter, Abigail Wilson. Abigail has been a part of BNI basically since you were born, right? Since she's been a part of BNI for the last 12 years, and I'm really excited to be able to have her with me today to kind of talk about your experience. What's BNI been like for you? And I just want to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to embrace our 50th podcast.
Can you believe it's our 50th podcast? It goes by quick, right?
Yes.
And you've actually kind of been in the background for almost every single one of those. So it's nice to have you in front of the camera this time to join me as a special guest. So tell us a little bit about you, Abbie.
I'm a swimmer, and I have 3 other sisters. I love swimming, and I love being in meetings with the people around me for BNI.
Yeah, she gets to join me periodically when she's not in school. Summertime, like we're coming up to summertime now, you'll be able to come down with me to join me at a couple meetings. And what I love about that is you're not afraid at all. She really just embraces the meeting. She gets in there. You do your own weekly presentation. What's that like, standing up in front of a room full of business professionals? What's that like for you?
It's honestly kind of scary, but I've gotten used to doing it over the years.
And you've been and it's great to see. I mean, it makes me not only a proud dad, but just like looking at you as a professional or what's to come in the future, I'm really excited about, because most kids your age are not out there talking to people, talking to adults in a business environment. So it's been really neat to watch you grow up in BNI. Speaking of growing up in BNI, so when you were little, when you were, wee big or whatever that term is, you used to run around our offices at our global headquarters in Upland, California, when BNI Global Headquarters was in Upland with Dr. Meisner and Norm Dominguez, our CEO, and Amy Charlie Brown, and the rest of our team. And you would run around the offices. What are some of the things that you remember back then?
I remember one of the distinct memories is sitting in his office with Ray Falvey and him, and they would be working, and I would be sitting at a desk, watching something, eating pancakes.
Yeah, we'd get her some food so she'd kind of sit, but she was great just interacting, either by herself doing stuff or even just kind of watching and listening, and then again, from a very young age, being able to just interact with people. It was really cool. So in BNI San Diego, because now, for the past 8 years, we've been down here in San Diego. What is your role here in San Diego?
My title is the Celebration Coordinator.
And what do you do as the Celebration Coordinator?
I embrace new members to the BNI family, and I welcome them into how BNI works, and I welcome them into a member success program.
Yeah, because that's one of our key initial investment programs, where they get to go through a training on learning our language, kind of learning to be able to basically put their best foot forward coming into BNI. It's one of those wonderful opportunities for every one of our new BNI members, and for seasoned members to come back and take a refresher, because let's face it, we all need refreshers. So again, it's a privilege to have you here today. We get to talk and have a conversation about BNI. You've experienced quite a bit from very early on, interacting with people, going to meetings, going to events, helping with events that are going on. What did we just come back from a week ago?
The
BNI National
Conference. National Conference in Las Vegas.
And it was great because you were, unfortunately, because of school, you were only there for one day, but you got to walk around and get to meet with other executive directors and directors from around the country. And it's, as a dad, it's a proud moment when you can kind of step back and watch you interact with executive directors, people like Kelly Mank, people like who were some of the other ones? Spencer Reynolds, other individuals that are executive directors from around the country and directors, and to just watch her interact with people is incredible. So there is a particular person I know that has become very near and dear to you. His name is
Norm Dominguez.
So, and what did you tell me earlier about Norm is your
Grandpa in BNI, basically.
so in BNI, everybody, Norm is incredible. Norm was our CEO for 15, 16, 17 plus years here in BNI. He's also become one of my mentors over the year. So I get to speak with him every other Friday. We have a coaching call, and periodically, depending on school, Abbie will get to pop into some of those conversations. And as you say, he's like, Grandpa Norm, as far as BNI goes. And it's just great to see you interact with him and all of our other members here in BNI San Diego. What are some of the fun things that you've gotten to do? What are some things that you, kind of peeking behind the curtain, because you get to see things from the backside of BNI?
I get to see my dad interact with so many different professionals, and I get to see different people's relationships with each other and what they do for their business and stuff like that.
And what do you get to see? Like, we went through this little thing called the pandemic, and watching different people and readjust and change their businesses. We went from all in person, right, when we were going to all in person meetings, to very quickly having to go all online. And you get to see all these little squares and boxes with people's pictures, and that also allowed you periodically to pop into meetings and interact.
I would
with
always
people.
run over there. If I heard my name, I would run over there.
Because periodically people will ask, "Hey, how's Abbie doing?" Good to see Abbie at some of our events. So we've got a picnic coming up at the end of summer that you'll get to come and hang out with. And what I'm excited about for things like that is not only can you engage with adults, not only can you engage with, interacting with adults, but at an event like that, you get to interact with people's kids as well. And as a kid growing up in BNI and being a part of a business from a very young age, what are some things that you enjoy about that?
I enjoy having conversations with people and with their kids, if I can influence them on what their parents do or stuff like that. Because my family, I'm the only one that understands BNI. Other than my dad, my 3 sisters and my mom have no clue what BNI is.
Well, I think they know what BNI is, but
they don't understand.
You're very engaged. You know the ins and outs, the things that are going on behind the scenes. You'll periodically come into the office and work with me and do some things in the office. And it's great to have you. And would it be safe to say that hopefully at some point in the future that you will become the executive director here in San Diego? You'd love it that much?
Yes.
Why do you
Definitely.
like it that much?
Mostly for me is the relationships, like my dad. We get to experience what other people are experiencing, have highs and lows with other people, and have really connected relationships with everybody in BNI.
We get to help impact a lot of people's lives through BNI. I think that's some of the best part of what we do, and to have you a part of that and get to hear some of those conversations. And then I love it when you follow up with me and ask about, how is Kevin doing? How are things going on in some of our members' lives? And it blows me away to think, how did you remember that? And it was because she was a part of that conversation or listening in. But it just goes to show how much you care and get to see how much we get to really impact people's lives. There's a really good friend of mine, Shirley Town, who we were with a couple weeks ago. And she has this saying, and I absolutely love it. Shirley Town is the executive director for BNI South Carolina Midlands. She's a mentor, a great friend. And she has this saying that I absolutely love. She basically says, we have the privilege to impact people's family trees. Being able to help people stay in business, grow in their business, maintain, work with their kids side by side. Because let's face it, there are business professionals that we work with, And they have kids that they're bringing up in their business to hopefully take over at various parts, of their lives.
And continuing on that, it doesn't really matter upon the distance, because that's what the pandemic did to make it better for some professionals, is we can really see around the world instead of just being in person and not really talking to other professionals in different countries and stuff like that.
Yeah, you brought up a good point. BNI we are a global organization, and with the difficulty that the pandemic brought along, there were some really good things that took place as well. It really helped us connect with people literally from all over the world, attending chapter meetings in China or in Brazil or in Canada, wherever you are in the world. If there is a BNI meeting that is done online via Zoom, we get to interact with them. And as a young person, what's that like to experience meetings in other countries and other worlds literally from your home office?
It's really cool to see if they speak a different language or if they're like bilingual, because a lot of the people who are around the world are bilingual in English and in whatever other language they're speaking. And we get to learn how they do their business in a different country other than the US.
Yeah, well said. So as we come to our close, because we're getting ready to end here, we've got a lot of things coming up in the near future, and we'll talk about one of those in just a moment. But what are you most excited about? You've got a couple weeks left in school. It's going to be summertime, which means hopefully you're going to be coming on a weekly basis, if not every other week, to chapter meetings with me. What are you looking forward to?
I'm excited to interact with more of the people, and I would say, what word would I say? I think improving on my weekly presentation to get people more into what I do and how I can help people in BNI.
So you know what but before I'm gonna extend it here just a moment, because something you just said really hit me. You talked about helping you improve. Over the years in BNI and getting to interact with all these people and sitting in meetings and conversations, what's that done for you as a sixth grader or as a kid or as a 12-year-old? How has that impacted you, how you interact with people?
I think it's improved like let's say like my posture, because I'm so used to being around adults and like how they do their business or how they are as a professional, and so I get to learn like all of these different things that you wouldn't do as a kid. So necessarily like proper language or like
a handshake.
Yeah.
A good handshake, right? You were going to say a couple of others?
I think some of the others are like I think how maturity is definitely a different thing that you wouldn't see in kids my age, other than how I see it in BNI, or like how.
Yeah, it's really allowed you to mature in a very special way.
Yeah.
Because again, most younger individuals are not necessarily interacting in a business environment with people. So it's great to see you grow up in BNI and as a young professional. I'm looking forward to you kind of walking that path, and again to eventually becoming the executive director down here in San Diego.
Oh, and then bringing it up, I would love to see some of you at the global conference in Hawaii in November.
Ooh, yeah, that's coming up. That's our next big conference. This coming November, we're going to be at our global conference, and this year it's in Hawaii. Abbie is going to be joining us. I'm excited about it. Get to interact with people from all over the world. That's going to be a fun one. So we want to pace ourselves there, because it's going to exhaust you on that. I know it's going to exhaust me. Abbie, thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate you being here. Not only being my daughter, but being someone who I look up to. I wish I learned some of the things that you've learned, and watching you grow, I'm just really excited. And I want to thank you for all that you do for BNI, but how you really have impacted me and how I look at how you've allowed me to look at BNI differently through your eyes. And I'm really excited about that. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Everyone, we greatly appreciate you joining us for the last 10, 15 minutes. We want to thank you, and we want to encourage you to join us next week, because next week is the start of our podcast from our BNI National Conference in Las Vegas, Nevada. Have some great guests, executive directors from around the country. And again, just thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back here next week with a very special guest as well. Thank you for joining us.
This episode of the BNI San Diego Podcast has been brought to you by Cruise Productions, a San Diego-based video production company and proud BNI member. You can find us at the intersection where business and creativity meet, or online at cruiseproductionsinc.com.